What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Acre Gold Standard podcast. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I am joined by my co-hosts Matt Llewellyn and Mike Andrews of Nothing But Niners. We got a great show planned for you guys this evening. Apologies for the delay. We had some technical issues on our end with YouTube. You know how it is. We will be previewing the 49ers Week 4 matchup versus the New England Patriots here at home. Before I kick it over to my guys, if you're watching on X, make sure you hit like and repost the post. If you're watching on YouTube, either on 49ers Hive or Nothing But Niners, make sure you hit like and subscribe and drop a comment in the chat. We want to hear your guys' thoughts. How panicked are you? Where is the panic meter on a scale of 1 to 10? Share your thoughts. We want to hear them. Now that I got that out of the way, Matt, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good, Zach. Had baby duty tonight. Let my wife get out of the house and go have some fun. And, she's hanging out with, I don't know. They have this, I don't know the app, but it's like an app for moms or whatever where they could just do, I don't know, wine or something like that. So she's out doing that. Got her down just a little while ago. She's kind of just sitting there right now. I'm kind of watching her on the monitor. But all things considered, went pretty smooth, man.
Nice. Mike, how you doing tonight?
I'm great. Tell me about this app, Matt, because is this something I need to tell my wife about? Like, it's just a bunch of moms in the neighborhood that get together for drinks?
Yeah, it is. Man, I'll have to ask her about it. I'll text you it. But I can't remember what it's called, to be honest. But yeah, they all, it's a bunch of moms. They all meet up. So they'll do play dates for their kids or whatever. Let's get the kids together and do this and this and that, or it's wine mom luncheon day or whatever it is. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
All right. I will definitely let my wife know about that. Always looking to get her to mingle with people. I don't know how much I trust humans, and my wife doesn't really trust people either, but I'm assuming that it's people you build a rapport with before you just start.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, no, I'm doing good, man. Been looking at the game over and over again, and man, oh man, I walk away from it thinking that we should have won the last game. But guys, listen, man, it's only week 3. There's a lot of football left, and we are embarking on another game that is either important to some. I don't know how important it actually is, but we'll break all that down later on.
Yeah, so obviously the 49ers are 1-2. Had the chance to separate themselves from the Rams and Cardinals and essentially bury the Rams because statistically a lot of teams don't make the playoffs after starting 0-3, but the 49ers couldn't get the job done. So now it is the Seahawks sitting alone at 3-0, the Cardinals 1-2, Rams 1-2, and the Niners 1-2. And the Niners are last because they have a divisional loss and a head-to-head loss versus the Rams. So that's unfortunate. Also, it was Brock Purdy's first divisional loss. We're not going to go into the Rams game since this is the Patriots preview, just seeing where we're at as far as starting this show. So that's where the 49ers are. I'm going to kick it off with some injury reports. By the way, I didn't see Fish and Chips asking if we saw the Rams and locker room celebrations. I didn't actually see what it was. I saw people saying that they were trolling the Niners. Good for them. It is what it is. Did
you see their tweet?
I saw the tweet. Okay. With the percentage? Is that what you're talking about? Or which one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's damning. It's pretty damning, man. I mean, it was and listen, for all intents and purposes, I thought that game was a lock.
Yep.
And then just boom, just like the graphic they showed. But it is what it is. It's all right. Listen, enjoy it while you can.
Yeah.
And maybe this will be a spark for them, but I don't know.
If Ronnie Bell knew how to catch, it wouldn't even have been a close game at the end. They probably would have scored another touchdown, gone up 14 or whatever, up 10, whatever they would have gone up. Right. It is what it is. Tip your hat, move on. Bound to get one out of every 8, I guess. I don't know. So back to the injury report. As far as the 49ers, again, it's Wednesday as we're recording this, so things are subject to change as we go on. Obviously, Javon Hargrave is out for the season with a partially torn tricep, so he did not participate. Debo did not participate with the calf injury. Trent Williams was sick and did not participate. And linebacker D. Winters did not participate with that ankle injury, which is unfortunate because we were hoping to see him over Devondre Campbell Sunday. Although some good news, George Kittle did return to practice with a limited capacity with the hamstring injury. And Brock was a full participant with the back injury. Obviously, strained his back carrying the team for the past 2 weeks. I'm kidding. And as far as the Patriots, corner Alex Austin with an ankle did not participate. Linebacker Anthony Jennings didn't participate with a shoulder injury. Guard Michael Jordan did not participate with an ankle injury. And tackle Vidarian Lowe did not participate with a knee injury. Limited participation, all of the following players: center David Andrews, rest day. Corner Christian Gonzalez with a shoulder injury. Tight end Hunter Henry with an ankle injury. Corner Jonathan Jones with a shoulder injury. Guard City So with an ankle injury. And tackle Caden Wallace with a knee injury. Full participation, guard Michael Onwenu with a wrist, and safety Jabril Peppers with an ankle. So they got a pretty long list as well. I mean, it seems like 2 of their corners, including their top corner, Christian Gonzalez, are dealing with shoulder injuries. So it'll be interesting to see if the 49ers can take advantage of that. The ankle injury that D. Winters sustained, I'm trying to remember when it was. I think it was like mid-second quarter. I don't think he returned. How much of that is a bummer to you guys if we have to trot out Devondre Campbell out there again? With all due respect to Devondre Campbell, I think we've seen him be a liability in coverage. Do you think if it's not Winters, we see maybe somebody like DFF or Curtis Robinson, or do you think it's got to be Campbell if not Winters?
I just wonder if they do the thing where, and it's a little bit more difficult in today's NFL to really have like passing or running downs, but I wonder if they just have them in there on, plays that aren't going to be like 3rd and long, you know what I mean? And then maybe rotate somebody a little more athletic in there for coverage on obvious passing downs. But I think it's pretty clear that he is a liability in coverage, and you would have loved to see D. Winters out there. But if that's not working, then you have to go in a different direction, whether that is DFF, whether that is Curtis Robinson, maybe Tatum Bethune gets some run at some point. But I think we've all seen enough of Devondre Campbell in pass coverage. Now run against the run, solid. He'll come up and thump, but I think they need to move on from that in terms of the passing game for sure.
Yeah. Mike, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah. Matt basically said it there. In run coverage, in run support, I'm not worried about him at all. And, even put him on a running back or something in passing downs. I think he's fine with that. The receivers are too fast. The tight ends might be a little too fast. And if I'm the Niners base downs, so to speak, I'm running him back out there. I'm not overly worried about it, but we want a little bit more speed. And in the secondary in general, outside of the corners, outside of 2 corners and one of them is not a starter. Outside of 2 corners though, I think that the Niners need a lot more speed in the secondary or in coverage in general. The safeties are slow. Campbell is slow. I mean, you're really just depending on the speed of Diamador Lenore and Fred Warner, honestly. And it's kind of going to handcuff the Niners until they can get someone back out there that can play to the level of a Dre Greenlaw, if I'm being honest with you guys.
They can't get it back soon enough, man. It is unfortunate. And Fish and Chip says he should have never been signed. To their credit, he was their second option. We talked about this on the last show. They tried to sign, I think it was Eric Kendricks, had a deal in place, and then it fell apart. He went and signed in Dallas instead, and then he was kind of their backup plan. So, and I do think that D. Winters would be playing right now if he had the ability to stay healthy. He got hurt in OTAs, and then he got hurt, unfortunately, Sunday again. So he can't seem to stay on the field. We got a super chat from our guy, Gray Fox 198. Thank you very much, Gray Fox. Ronnie Bell isn't to blame. We shouldn't have been in that position to start with. The blame is on the DC and the defense. That's fair. I mean, there's plenty of blame to go around, not solely on Ronnie Bell. It's just in that moment, if he caught it, the offense goes on, and I think they win the game. But I agree. Defense looked horrible. Corners are getting abused all day. It seems like Charvarius Ward is playing through an injury, and maybe that's why he's not out there. He did come off the field for that little bit where Renardo Green came in. I don't know. He was on the injury report with a knee and hamstring injury leading up to Sunday's game. He's notably not on this week's injury report, so hopefully that means he's fully healthy. But that has been a noticeable change for us. With Hargrave out, it looked like they were checking or playing guys like T.Y. McGill. There's a couple other guys that have been on this roster and on the practice squad a few times. Givens, thank you. Who do you expect, Mike, to get the most looks at DT with Hargrave out?
Yeah, I'm honestly, it's going to be tough to tell. Probably Givens. He's been in the system longer, so it'll probably be Givens out there. And thank God the Niners signed Collins this offseason. I mean, he hasn't been a disappointment so far, and he's doing his job in run support. He's even getting some pressures early throughout the game. It's just a matter of getting a healthy rotation in there, so you're not burning these guys out. And when they go hurry up, they've got a mismatch that teams like. So we have to keep our eye on things like that. But that's part of football. We don't do it a lot here with the Niners. They just believe in the scheme and all so much. So we don't run the hurry up offense. But that's why teams do it. They get a mismatch and they don't want to substitute because they recognize a weakness. So teams are going to do that when you're playing up against a team that's supposed to be as sound as the 49ers. But the defensive line is going to be tested for sure. Maybe not so much in this upcoming game, but going forward until we get some depth back, or maybe find someone, work a couple of guys out, bring some veterans in or something. We'll have to do something to try to survive.
Matt, do you think the 49ers can survive with their remaining roster? Do you think that a trade might need to happen in order for them to improve up front in the middle?
I mean, we've seen this song and dance before with the defensive line, with people getting hurt, whether it was Javon Kinlaw when he was here. Eric Armstead dealt with some injuries at times. As a matter of fact, I think last year the 49ers without Eric Armstead for like multiple weeks, and they were able to survive. I think this is one of those things that I talked about last week when we were talking about, do you want a safety who is potentially going to make a lot of plays but doesn't maintain their integrity? And I think with some of these guys that are less talented, the less talented guys are actually more coachable in the fact that they know that they're under more scrutiny than a superstar. Javon Hargrave and Nick Bosa are going to get a little bit of the benefit of the doubt that a guy like Kevin Givens or T.Y. McGill is not going to get. So those guys, to the best of their ability, are going to try to maintain their assignment. And it's not like these guys, I mean, T.Y. McGill's been here for a couple of years now. Kevin Givens has been here for a couple of years now. These are guys that definitely can slot in if needed. And the 49ers defensive line is one that typically has had injuries, like I said. So I don't know that they necessarily have to go outside. I feel like the team has been going outside, mind you, in the offseason to get help. Last year, they traded for Chase Young. That wasn't exactly the slam dunk that everybody thought it was going to be. I think that you kind of wait and see. At this point, I don't think that the defense can be much worse than it has been, 25th in what is that, DVOA or whatever it is. So, yeah, I think they just let it rock with what they got and go from there.
I think we'll see. Maybe we'll see trades at other positions, but I think they're comfortable at DT. It is unfortunate. It seemed to be their weakest group of the defensive line coming into the season. So it's unfortunate. And of course, it's their high-priced free agent from a year ago who, in my opinion, just had his best game of the year. So it is unfortunate, but we'll see. On offense, looks like we might get Kittle back. Debo likely is still out another week. There was a lot of talk last week and leading into this week about Ayuk and, oh my God, Ayuk, where has he been? Go ahead, Mike. Do you have something to add?
Well, before we start talking about the offense, I just wanted to find out what was the status of Gross Matos? Do we know if he's back yet?
He played last week.
Yeah, but I thought he was a little banged up, or was that the week before? So I mean, if he's not on the,
I know week 1 he was held out with that minor knee injury,
and
I don't see anything.
I think he's back.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So between him, Jordan Elliott, and Givens, I think they'll find a way to work it out.
Good. As far as the offense, there was a lot of talk about Ayuk and him not living up to the contract, him only having 50% catch rate on his 10 targets. We went into that. He did draw about three fouls. What do you expect this Sunday going up against the Patriots offense with possibly the addition of Kittle back? Is it going to be Purdy eyeing one receiver like he did with Jennings getting 12 targets again? Or do you guys think that it'll be a little more spread out? Mike, what do you expect Sunday offensively, passing wise?
I'm hoping that we see a game similar to what we saw last week. Not so much with Juwan Jennings going off the way that he did, right? But Ayuk is still, it was a question at the presser today, based off of the advanced metrics and all that stuff. He's still getting the most separation per route run and all that. And they asked Kyle, like, that's what the metrics say. Is that what you see when you review the tape? And Kyle didn't hesitate. He was like, yeah, absolutely. He's still running the routes. He's still getting open. So he's still doing his job, guys. Like, I understand that the stats, if you were to go into a game and you found out that Kittle, Ayuk, CMC weren't there, one receiver was going to have 175 yards and 11 receptions, and the other guy was going to have 5 receptions for I don't even remember what Ayuk finished with. You're going
43, I think.
Yeah, you're going to be like, oh, that's Ayuk with the 175, right? But the point of a number one wide receiver is to draw 2 men and open things up for other people, and Ayuk did exactly that. So, that's just the way it is. And they even asked Ayuk briefly about it, and he was like, yeah, teams are playing me a little different right now, but it's not, it's nothing that I can't handle. So I like the answer that we got from him, and we just have to keep in mind how it really looks when you only have 2 guys out there that your quarterback is comfortable throwing to, or used to throwing to. And it was Jennings and Ayuk. There was no tight end or anything like that. So we just got to stick with that and keep that all in mind going forward. If we get Kittle back, it's going to open up a lot more. Imagine if Kittle was in that game and the underneath routes that he would have been able to run if Ayuk was sucking in that same kind of coverage from the Rams. He would have been feasting out there along with Jennings. So that's what his job is. I'm not worried about it. As long as Purdy plays the way that he played for, 3 quarters and 10 minutes, you know what I'm saying? Then we should be fine. I think that we'll be fine in the passing game.
Interesting.
What's this 3 quarters and 10 minutes business?
Yeah, that was my question.
I just didn't like that he left Ayuk on that one play that was wide open.
Oh no, he missed one play like every single quarterback in every single game in the National Football League. So that 3 quarters and 10 minutes, throw that out the window. I rebuke that completely. Like, you show me a quarterback that's played a perfect game ever, ever.
Right, but that's kind of my point. Like, people are panicking over the lack of Ayuk production, and it was like, guys, look at how many passing yards we had. He had 3 fucking passing touchdowns. What more do you guys want from?
No, but I'm just saying, like, the people that are blaming Purdy are just like,
right.
did we forget that was actually a 5-yard completion to Jennings on that play? It's not like nothing good happened. Know, but nobody's going to talk about the very next play, right, where nobody was open. He took a sack, or later on I think it was a 3rd and 8, and he had to just run for a couple yards to try to scramble forward because people, it's like, I don't know, man. I was expecting it, but the amount of people that were sitting there going like, "Oh, Purdy's got to do this, Purdy's got to do that," I'm like, damn, dude. Like, you just want Purdy to just do everything for everybody then. Like, we went from can he do it without these people to not only is he supposed to do it, but if he doesn't do it, then he's shitty. Like, I don't understand that. Ayuk will be fine. Again, we have to understand that this is late in the cycle contract negotiations, and he barely came in a couple days before the first game. This is his training camp. If this stuff is still happening with the drops in week 8, then we got a problem. But, in the first couple games, I expected a little bit of rust, and the further that goes on, the better he's going to end up being. And before too long, you're going to just forget that these games happen, and Ayuk's just going to look like Ayuk. Like, like the stats show, he's getting separation. It's not that it's not there. He's going to be fine.
Yep.
I agree. I think he's doing what he needs to do. It is, like Mike said, tough when defenses are treating him like that number one and they're bracketing him. But that, like, again, that allows somebody like Llewellyn Jennings to get open and catch 11 passes. So it does open up the offense for other people. And by the way, just talk about your younger and underdrafted players stepping up. You had 7th round quarterback throwing to your 7th round receiver, and they were the 2 stars of the offense on Sunday for the Avengers, right? Like, you have Llewellyn Jennings and Brock Purdy both taken in the 7th round. I posted that meme of, Padme and Anakin. It's like, Kyle, we're going to count on our 3 7th rounders today. It's like, you mean 2, right? No, we're counting on our 3, because Roddy Bell was the 3rd, unfortunately, that they counted on. But it is unfortunate. That's how the game ended on offense. And then I'm not going to get into it. I'm expecting a lot from the 49ers offense this week. I wanted to share this graph with you guys, the EPA chart for quarterbacks. expected points added through week 3. And would you look at that? Look at who is on top by a pretty wide margin. Let me pull it up here. Purdy, right there. Well, 0.2 points over Josh Allen in the adjusted EPA per play. So he's playing very well. He's playing very, very well, playing himself into a nice contract. He's had 2 back-to-back games. And again, we talked about this on Sunday, but I think we all agreed Houston's performance in Minnesota shines a different light on Purdy's performance in Minnesota the week prior. It's like, oh, okay. CJ Stroud is thought of as like an MVP candidate, top 3 quarterback after his rookie year. He looked like a scrub there. He only threw for, sub 250 yards, an interception, did not look good at all. So Purdy threw for 300 yards, a touchdown. Yes, he had the interception and a fumble, but I think, honestly, if special teams doesn't whiff that game, the 49ers maybe win. By the way, 2 weeks in a row, special teams have whooped the 49ers in the ass. And, Mike, you talked about it, how on the press conference that Kyle did recently, he kind of threw, was it Schneider, under the bus a bit and said, we weren't prepared. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, it's funny because he started by saying we were prepared for the fake. And then he was like, we were prepared, but it wasn't good enough. Like, we weren't prepared. Like, this is not acceptable. This is not how it's supposed to be. And I kind of like that he did that, which if he's comfortable enough to say that to the media, imagine what he's saying in the room, So I'm not saying that there's going to be some drastic change. I mean, the staff is the staff and the coaching is the coaching, but it shows that it's on their radar, and that's the start. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where you will start to see some changes happen. It's you got to do something about what we're doing, and this isn't acceptable. So it's a step in the right direction, and let's hope that they figure something out later on. Like, that's all we can do.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. I feel like they maybe shouldn't have hired him. Chris Tabor is still out there, former Panthers special teams coach who was their interim coach after they fired. Forgetting the name of the coach from last year that they fired, the guy from Indianapolis, right? He was a great special teams coach. The whole Panthers locker room loved him. And Frank Reich, they fired Frank Reich, and then Tabor came in and was the interim coach. He's still out there. He's not hired by anybody. The 49ers could hire him today and replace Schneider. So I just think this special teams unit has historically been one of the worst ranked. And if you guys go back to like 2022 when we went to Green Bay for that playoff game where we blocked the punt and Hufanga caught it for a touchdown, we were 31st. Guess who was 32? Luckily for us, it was Green Bay, and they were just that much worse than us. So, we'll see. Matt, I saw you unmuted. Did you have anything to add?
I was just saying Frank Reich for the
you.
Panthers coach. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, listen. I like what he said. He basically said, like, in the post-game presser, we had practiced or were prepared for a fake punt in certain situation, whatever. And today he was like, I didn't like what he called against the fake punt. So it's like they were prepared, but he didn't like what the special teams coach had dialed up and didn't think that it was good enough to set the edge. And obviously by result, it wasn't. And I do think that it's a good thing that he is holding people accountable. I like that he feels comfortable enough to say this because, I mean, if he didn't, it would be a problem because everybody watching the 49ers special teams knows that it's one of the worst coached units in the league. Back-to-back weeks, like you said, Zach, of poor performance from the special teams, whether it's on coverage, whether it's on with the fake punt, whether it's a blocked punt, those things. And this is not, again, 55-yard field goal was missed. That's I'm not going to harp on that too much because 55 is not exactly a chip shot, and those things happen. And it's not like Moody was running from that at the end of the game. He's like, I thought I hit it good, but it didn't go in, so we'll just make the next one. That's a good attitude to have for a kicker. And I don't know, man. I don't know. I just don't. I don't like what we see from the special teams. And I don't know about you guys, but does Mitch Wishnowsky still seem like he's a little hurt? I don't think his punts are traveling like they used to, and I think that's part of the problem. They're not hanging up long enough for the coverage team to get there. They seem a little bit more low and line drivey to me. I don't know. It could be just me, though.
Well, that's what I was just going to bring up. That last punt of the game, why the fuck wouldn't they tell him, go kick that out of bounds? Do whatever you do not allow a return. Do not allow a return. Kick it. If you can get it inside the 10 out of bounds, great. But at least get it to the 20 and outside of bounds.
And he was so good at that last year.
He was great. He kicked a line drive punt that the coverage was barely there in time for. And even then, they could have stopped him at like inside the 10, inside the 15. 2 49ers dove at his feet. They allowed a 38-yard return. Do you guys know that was the first time that player ever touched football in the NFL? The first time that returner has ever touched football in the NFL. And it was a 38-yard return to set up the Rams at midfield. It was atrocious. So hopefully that's all it is. And that Mitch is still not fully healthy. But I don't know, man. We had that other punter in the preseason. He was pretty solid. Presley Harvin, maybe see what he's up to.
Yeah, and Ice is absolutely right with this comment here. This is something that I warned the faithful about. NFL is decided by 3 points or less usually. It's usually a one-score type of thing in most games when it's all averaged out. And our special teams unit is going to give up big plays. I said it was going to cost us 2 games. Chalk this one up as 1. And we'll see what the rest of the season holds for us. But that's just what it is, man. This is not a good special teams unit.
49ers throwback has the comparison here. Brock Purdy, CJ Stroud, 319 yards, 215, 77.8 completion percentage, 64.5% completion percentage, 101.3 rating, 68.6 rating, plus 17.4 completion percentage over expected, negative 3.2% completion percentage over expected versus the Viking defense. So top 3 quarterback MVP candidate in Brock Purdy. Yeah, it's like that one meme of the handsome guy versus the ugly guy, like flirting versus harassment. You know, it's
right,
like, that's exactly what it is. So shout out to Brian Flores, man. He's coaching a hell of a defense over there in Minnesota. So it'll be interesting to see how they do once they leave Minnesota and have to play a good team on the road, but we'll see.
Was their first game not on the road?
It was in New York.
Oh,
they played the Giants. So
gotcha, never mind.
Take it with a grain of salt, you know?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Back to this game. We saw the Patriots was Thursday night. So they do have 10 days to prepare. And again, for like the 3rd year in a row, the 49ers get fucked with the rest schedule for whatever reason. They're always at a disadvantage. Even when they play the Chiefs in a couple of weeks, the Chiefs have a bye week versus the 49ers coming off of a Thursday night game. They can't even equal those out on like our biggest game of the year in the regular season. How much of an impact do you guys think that will have on this game? The Pats having 10 days to rest and prepare versus the 49ers coming off of a normal Sunday game, if at all?
There's preparation is very important. I will say that. But the Patriots as a team, really bad. Not a ton of talent on this team. So preparation will only get you offensively. Defensively too. They have a star linebacker that's hurt. That's gone. So that really hurts them. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think that the Patriots are going to be able to prepare enough to overcome the talent deficit. So
yeah, I'm looking at the stats right here. The Patriots passing, they're second lowest in the entire NFL, 5.1 yards per attempt, versus the 49ers, who are, I guess the opposite would be 31st at 8.9 yards per attempt, right? So, I mean, that's a huge discrepancy right there. If you break it down with rushing, it's close to the same thing, right? Like rushing yards, the Patriots are, where'd it go? The Patriots and the Niners are actually pretty even. There's 1 yard of separation there, but it kind of shows you like the Patriots only have one tool in their bag. They're going to try to run the ball as much as possible, and you can do that if your defense is going to keep games close. This is good. They need the rest. They need it right now. They need the extra time, and so this is going to be this is going to be a game where, this is going to be a game where we have to see what the Niners are really going to do. They have to be focused. This better not be a team that you're overlooking. We have to win this one at home, and just for record purposes, like just to go to 2-2, we have to get this one going.
Yeah. No, I get it. I just think that, again, like I said, their linebacker, Jawan Bentley, just went down for the season with a torn pec. I think he led the NFL in tackles last year. He had like 173 tackles or something. That's a huge loss patrolling the middle of the field, and they don't have the horses to back that up. So that's going to be a problem for them. And I do agree with you. The 49ers can't come in and overlook, but I don't think after dropping that game to the Rams, they're going to. That's one of those ones, you see Nick Bosa today with the media saying that like he hasn't been able to sleep. He's itching to get back out there. I think that's going to be one of those like Bosa takes over and goes off type of games, which he needs because I think he's been a little lackluster, to be honest, as has the rest of the defensive line. They have, it's like putting all these exotic cars like Lamborghinis and Ferraris and whatever and putting them in a race against like a Volkswagen, and the Volkswagen just ends up beating them somehow, That's what it's been like with the 49ers defensive line. How much talent can you put on one unit and then not get the results that you want? That's a coaching issue. We've talked about me souring on Coach Kocurek, and that's going to be something we're going to watch out going forward. But this is the one where they really, really, really need to get after it. Zach, I think you were, looking at a prop where it was like Jacoby Brissett over 166 passing yards or something like that.
Thursday night.
People were like, oh, that's so easy. He's going to get that. And I was like, no, he's not.
Yeah.
No, he's not. Brissett sucks. His team sucks. They got no talent. And lo and behold, Ramondre Stevenson, he can get going if you're not careful. And the 49ers have been a little bit soft in the past to runs. I think they've actually done pretty well so far, though. Their problems with the runs have been mainly second half when they're unable to get teams off the field in passing downs. And then the next, third and 8, they give up a passing down. Then the next first down play is like a chunk play for like 9 or 10 yards on a carry. And that's where they've been kind of giving that up. But if they can get off the field and stay fresh, I think that they've done a pretty good job of getting home and swarming the run so far. So if you can take him out of it and force Jacoby Brissett to try to beat you, that's a winning formula for the 49ers team. And he's not a fast guy, and they don't have fantastic receivers. As far as I know, Kendrick Bourne is still like their best guy, right? Like coming off of an injury season. And so you're looking at a team that's, cover Hunter Henry and cover their best guy and then go from there. I don't know. I don't even know if Hunter Henry is going to play in this game, but I'll look at their depth chart right now. We're looking at Demario Douglas, KJ Osborne, Jalen Polk. Like, who are these guys? Kendrick Bourne is out still, by the way. I didn't realize he was still on IR.
And to Matt's point, if you look up yards per reception, right, the Niners are ranked 5th in the NFL, coming in at 12.2. The team right above them at 4th is the Vikings at 12.4. Now get this. According to this, and if this is accurate, the Niners' longest reception of the year is only 34 yards. The Vikings are ahead of us by 0.2, and they have that 97-yarder. They have a 97-yarder. Now, watch this. The Niners' long is 34, right? The Patriots are 29th, and their long is 35, but they're ranked 29th in the NFL with only 8.5 yards per reception. So, we do this consistently down in and down out versus them they have 1 yard longer than us on their longest reception of the season. Like, it's just not even close. Like, we are a better team on a per series basis, and it's not close. That 97-yard is what really screwed up a lot of the numbers for the 49ers defense and, what they allow and things like that. So,
by the way, Taylor Heineke notwithstanding with his 2 passing attempts this season for the Chargers, Brock Purdy leads the NFL in air yards per attempt so far.
Yeah. Maybe a minimum of like 150.
It was 2 passes and it was 16 air yards. So it was 8 air yards per attempt or whatever. Yeah. Brock Purdy's at 6.7. That leads the number 2 quarterback Derek Carr, who's at 5.5. So it's not like, everybody accuses Brock Purdy of being a check down merchant. I saw a stats comparison between Brock Purdy's first 2 seasons, 2 full seasons or whatever versus Joe Burrow, and the numbers are fairly comparable. And I don't think many people would argue that in terms of pure receiving talent, that Joe Burrow has had the better overall pure receiving talent on his team. You know, if you're looking at Ayuk and Debo versus Jamar Chase and T. Higgins when healthy, I don't know that many would take the 49ers receivers. And there's the post that I was looking at earlier. So, you know, that's pretty good. Pretty good company.
Pretty eye-opening. For those just listening, Coach Yak posted, and you got Purdy's first 24 starts, 6,439 yards, 49 touchdowns, 113.6 passer rating, 18 turnovers. Joe Burrow's first 24 starts, 7,103 passing yards, 48 touchdowns, passer rating of 98.1, and 25 turnovers. So Burrow's got about 600 and some change more passing yards, one less touchdown, 14-point lower passer rating, and 7 more turnovers.
And keep in mind, this is after a season where we saw the 49ers absolutely boat racing teams last year. The Dallas Cowboys, the Philadelphia Eagles, where they weren't throwing late in the third and fourth quarters that Joe Burrow's teams necessarily weren't, doing at that time as well. Again, calling him a check down merchant, very disingenuous at this point. The people nitpicking him for last week, very disingenuous at this point. You just got to call a spade a spade. I mean, Brock Purdy is good.
And I love the fact that Coach Yak posted that, because that's someone that, there's a Bengals fan at my job. He's a kid with, Asperger's. He's one of our guys that we keep in our cleaning room, right? And he's a diehard Bengals fan. He loves talking football. As soon as he sees me, Mike, right? But I keep telling him, like, hey, Brock Purdy and your quarterback are very similar. I said, no one talks about the weapons that your guy has because of where he was drafted. I said, because Brock Purdy is Mr. Relevant, they blame it on the supporting cast. I said, but you guys have had 3 number 1 wide receivers and Joe Mixon his entire career except for this year. Now all of a sudden they're saying, oh, maybe something's wrong with Burrow, right? When he loses that star running back, all of a sudden it's like, uh-oh, what's going on? I said, no one talked about that, the supporting cast for him in the way that they do for Brock Purdy. He's like, yeah, Brock Purdy's good. Brock Purdy's good. I like Brock Purdy, but it's kind of like a comparison that it really, if it weren't for the draft position, people just wouldn't say the things that they say.
Yep, 100%. Nobody talks about Burrow like that. Nobody holds Burrow to the same standard. Nobody says, well, let's imagine Burrow on the Panthers and see what he would do there.
Right.
I wanted to ask you guys about the 49ers defense and defensive coordinator Nick Sorensen and his style. There's this chart that kind of went around this past couple days of defensive coverages through the first 3 weeks of the season and EPA per dropback. The 49ers, you will see, are sub-middle. We have ran 0% cover 0, 32% cover 1, 16% cover 2, 1% cover 2 man, 20% cover 3, 17% cover 4, and 8% cover 6, with an EPA rate of 0.07, which, like I said, is subpar. Mainly cover 1. It seems like we're running the most of. It doesn't seem to be working. I don't know. Why aren't we dialing up blitzes? What are your guys' thoughts on this? There was a comment in here earlier about
it.
Too.
Here's the weird one too. You're running a lot of cover 1 with safeties that aren't athletic enough to be running cover 1.
Bingo. You got to know your personnel. Like, let's get our heads out of our ass. Let's stop just saying we're going to do this and we're better than you. Like, the defensive line has been a major letdown for the 49ers for the last 2 seasons, if we're going to be honest. So you shouldn't be running cover 1 like that. Like, it's just that simple, right? Like, let's stop it. We got to, we have Kosurik and he's going to get the best out of everybody. We have to throw that notion out. We have to get rid of that. He did that shit with, what was it, Hurst that one year, and all of a sudden he's like this miracle worker. Like, guys, stop it. We've invested more in the defensive line than any other position group in the entire team. Any group on the entire team. Free agency, first round picks, second round picks, like we invest on it. The year that we had, I'm sorry, let me get myself off of this view. It bothers me when the color changes like that. The year that we didn't have a pick until, what was it, the 3rd round or something like that, we still took a defensive lineman, right? Like we negated the 1st and 2nd round picks and we still went defensive lineman. Enough already. Like, let's play to the strength of this team. It's the linebackers and it's the secondary, but it's not the safeties. So we got to use these safeties the right way, and we're going to have to dial up some blitzes. We're going to have to, pin our ears back a little bit more to assist the defensive line. I understand that we have Nick Bosa, but Nick Bosa is not the end-all, be-all. And just the way that teams are planning to take away Ayuk right now, that is exactly what their focus is on Nick Bosa, and so we have to plan for that accordingly. We have to plan for it accordingly, and if they thought that Hargrave was going to be that guy, sorry, but I told you guys to be wary of that too. I told you guys Hargrave was just another Eric Armstead. I tried telling everybody that. They were all hyped up off of this 11-sack season that he had when we signed him in the offseason. I said, don't forget that Eric Armstead once had a 12-sack season also, and if you take that away, he's a 3 to 5 sack guy every year if that's what you're looking for, pressure up the middle. He's stout against the run, and that's if he's giving 100% effort. Now, there was that play that went around, and they showed him just doing absolutely nothing on that double team play, but it turns out that was after the bicep injury, and it was probably worse than what it was. And if you even look at that play in slow motion, you'll see that he was out there just using one arm trying to beat a double team. That's why he half-assed it. He was done at that point. He was out there longer than what he should have been. He did try his best, guys. It was just, when you're out there with one arm, you're no good against a double team. So that was it, and it was still season ending. So
yep. And I'll retract any and all criticism, obviously, that I had, looking at the tape and stuff. When you just look at it, you're just like, oh, this is not a good look. But within the context of he had torn his tricep by that point, I mean, it's really understandable why. My only thing is, like, if you are hurt like that, I know you want to go out there and help. But at some point, just like with Charvarius Ward, right, if you're not healthy enough to, like, do your job, then the best thing you could do for the team is not be out of the field. And that's a tough pill to swallow for these ultra competitors, but at the end of the day, it's a team game, and if you can't give it your best and next man up could probably do it a little better, you need to have that self-awareness to kind of pull yourself out. But speedy recovery, hopefully, for Javon Hargrave. I know that Kyle Shanahan said that there was potentially could come back if they make a deep playoff run, so here's hoping that we see him again this season down the line.
Bingo.
Yep. So as far as this defense, and maybe we won't see anything Sunday because it is the New York Patriots. They're not the most talented offensively. Do you expect Sorensen to maybe adjust and start dialing up more blitzes, maybe going away from cover one as he kind of settles in as that defensive coordinator role? Is it too early to tell because we don't really know his coaching style? What are you guys expecting out of this defense as the season goes on? Or what are you hoping, I should say? What are you hoping to see more of? Mike, you alluded to playing to the strengths of the defense, linebackers, corners maybe. What do you expect to see? What do you want to see?
Yeah, I mean, look, we have to try to use speed. If I'm being honest with you guys, we have to use speed. Whether it's speed in the pass rush and again blitzing Fred Warner, or if you don't want to take Fred Warner out in coverage, then maybe go with some three corner sets when there's only two wide receivers out there, and use one of those guys on a blitz or something like that. You know what I mean? Just to add some pressure to the opposing team. There's two ways to look at it, right? And this is what the conundrum that the 49ers are going to be faced with. This is a team that doesn't really shine in the passing game, right? So do we need to do that this game versus, hey, let's practice some of these blitz packages because they're not that good, and maybe it'll build the confidence of the players, right? And if I'm the Niners, I'm all about building the confidence going forward. If we can look good this game and we can start to build some momentum going forward, maybe when some of the other guys start coming back in, the linebacking room and things like that, maybe when these guys start to get healthy, then we can say, all right, now we can change it up a little bit, and maybe we can catch teams off guard. Give teams something to look at. Give them something to think about. And so if it's my decision, I'm dialing up some exotic blitzes, and I'm dialing up maybe some 5 defensive lineman looks. I know we just lost Hargrave, and they haven't made a corresponding move yet, to my knowledge. I haven't seen them. Maybe they did sign someone that I don't know about, but I haven't seen any corresponding moves. But so the fuck what? Like, let's run out there with 3 pass rushers and Collins out there, and just see what the fuck they can do. Who cares at this point, right? If this team's passing offense is what you say it is, send 5 linemen at them. That we should definitely bottle up the run, right? I kind of want to see them get away from the wide 9 a little bit. Maybe the wide 9 isn't what you guys want it to be. Maybe that's not the way to go anymore, because these guys aren't containing the way that they're supposed to. You take away the run with 5 defensive linemen for sure. You can definitely get after the quarterback with 5 defensive linemen, and let your secondary eat. Let these safeties get some confidence in them. Hufunga's first game back, nothing to really write home about, in my opinion, right? And you got another guy just as slow as Hufunga out there with Brown. We got to do something, man. Like, let's define some roles. Everybody should not be interchangeable. Let's stop pretending that we can just, copy and paste and drop anybody in any position and they're going to be just as good as the next guy. Let's let these guys become a master of something, and then we know what we have. Because the Niners just don't do that for whatever reason it is. I don't think Ward is good enough to shadow the number 1 guy. I know that's what he said when he went to the podium. Maybe he is injured. I have no idea, but I don't see it. If you're going to play boundary side versus field side, then let these guys lock in that way and keep it that way. Stop moving them back and forth and let them master their craft on what their assignment is, because we got to stop the experiments. We have to.
Very well said. Very well said. Matt, I don't know if you had anything to add. If not, I can move on.
No, I think that's very well said. I agree with everything.
Got you.
Yeah.
I would like to see that some more pressure dialed up. And Mike, when you were talking, it reminded me of, I saw Ron Rivera on a podcast talking about preseason. I know it's not quite the same, right? But he was saying, typically you don't blitz in preseason. He's like, and I wouldn't blitz. And then come week 1, we would call these blitzes, and my linebackers are running into the same gap and running into each other because they don't know what the fuck to do. They're tripping over each other. So the next preseason, I started calling blitzes, and then I saw my team starting to get, we got these kinks out in the preseason, so come week 1, I know he's going to this hole, I can go to that hole. We're going to, it's seamless. And I think that's what the 49ers need to start to do. We haven't seen much blitzing at all. And if the 49ers aren't going to get home with 3 or 4 linemen, bring the pressure. Because we had been talking about the past couple of weeks leading into the season, it looks like maybe we're seeing that transition from pressure to coverage, and this 49ers secondary looks deep. Well, it hasn't held up. It hasn't held up, and right now you got neither. You got no pressure, and your secondary is getting beat. You're like one of the worst secondaries statistically in the NFL. So you got to change something up, because it's not impressive. It's not pretty. The product put out there on the field isn't great, and it's costing this team games, or at least playing into the reason why they're losing. So I want to see something change.
No, and that's a good point too. You look at it, and again, you're right. The secondary hasn't held up, particularly in the middle of the field with the safeties. You got to do something. But again, they've run a lot of cover 1. Maybe rotate to more cover 2. That seems to be the thing that's like going around the league. That seems to be like the big thing in the NFL right now. It's cover 2, keep everything in front of you, and then run them and make plays. And where the 49ers have gotten in trouble is letting people behind them. So if the philosophy is, keep everything in front of you and then run downhill, I do feel like these safeties are good enough to run down and hit somebody. You know what I mean? Just take it out of their hands. I would like to see more blitzes, but then that comes with the double-edged sword of you leave even, one less defender out there who's not covering anyway, and you hang the secondary out to dry a little more. You better hope they get home fast enough to negate that disadvantage. So I don't know. At this point, I think we're all grasping for straws at how a unit that has been perennially a top 10 is sitting in the bottom third of the league right now. And, you're kind of scratching your head, and it's still early, but we all know, and I can't remember who it was. It was one of the 49ers. Was it Dante Whitner that said that like the scheme that Sorensen is scheming up looks like almost like a high school style defense? So yeah, I'll see if I can find that quote.
I tell you what, man, if there's one person that's not going to bite his tongue on the 49ers defense and what they look like, it is Dante Whitner, man. And I absolutely love the way that he keeps it real. This is something that, they need to hear it. They need to hear it, and they do. I can promise you guys that the words that get said by the 49ers, the people that cover the 49ers, it gets back into the locker room. And the good news is that they care about it also, So we gotta keep in mind what we're seeing and hope that they can make some freaking adjustments, because it just hasn't been good enough. It's not up to par. And I don't think that there's been enough injuries to blame it on the defensive side of the ball. Dre Greenlaw is one person. You had Hargrave for the first 3 weeks. Like, what's the excuse? Honestly, you got to tell me what the excuse is. And so, maybe the next time we hear from Sorensen, he'll make it sound like he's willing to make some adjustments and all that stuff. Someone tell him to get upstairs in the booth. I don't know, like do something. But again, I kept saying it over and over. I want to see that same vitriol that you guys had for Wilkes, that for Sorensen right now. And people were like, "Oh, you want Wilkes back?" I never said that. I never said that. But if we have a bar and a standard, and the Niners aren't living up to it, the blame should go to whoever that coordinator is on that side of the ball, right? We don't have a standard for special teams. We just know it hasn't been good for the last 5 seasons, and we want to see better. That's okay. The defense does have a standard though, and we are not living up to it right now. The Niners are at the bottom 5, bottom 10, definitely, of almost every defensive category. That's not good enough. It's not good enough. So we got to be better.
Like a Shakespearean tragedy that we watched an incompetent offense, or I should say an incompetent quarterback with an elite defense for years. And now that we get an elite looking quarterback, our defense is trash. Like we're losing games. Imagine if you would have told us watching Jimmy Garoppolo when he struggled as much as he did. Yeah, we're going to put up like 27, 30 points a game, and it's not going to be enough. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yep. And also, speaking about Nick Sorensen, rewatch the game. I would like to see less of dropping Nick Bosa and Leonard Floyd into coverage. That's just me. I'm not a fan of that.
We weren't a fan of that when Robert Saleh was doing it.
No.
Season.
Yes.
Bingo.
Yes. We got another super chat here from our guy, Gray Fox 198. You're the man. Couldn't we bring the hoodie as a consultant for a few weeks? I remember we did something similar with Fangio. I would have hired Fangio. I don't know why we didn't. Seems like Bill's pretty comfortable in his TV roles. He's on a ton of shows inside the NFL, many casts, recurring segments. I think he's on Pat McAfee. I know Kyle reached out to him. That was reported. Offered him the DC position / assistant head coach. Bill didn't take it. It looked like I should say he was holding out for a head coaching gig. He didn't get one. But yeah. And as far as Fangio, I think the 49ers were going to offer it to him at the end of the year, but Miami got to him first, if I'm remembering this correctly, and then he ended up going to Philly. So they didn't really have the role. It didn't line up at the same time, but that he was available.
When it comes to Bill Belichick, man, it was kind of like if you listen to Kyle talk about it, it was an offer, but it was like, hey, like we'd love to have you here. We'll create a role for you if you want us to. Like if you don't want to be DC, like let us know. Assistant head coach, whatever it is that you want. Like we'd be honored to have you here. I don't know how real of an offer. I mean, I don't know how to say this the right way. I've been trying to figure it out. It's been something that's going on in our group chat for Nothing But Niners, right? It's not that they weren't interested in getting him. They were. But it was like, hey, are you interested at all on being on a roster? And he was like, not this year. Like, we'll create a role for you if you want. Like, we'll define it however you want, but we would love to get you here if it's something like we'd be honored to get you here. But to me, that's not the same as like, hey, let's bring this guy in and interview him and see if he want. It's not quite the same thing. It was like a dude, like we respect you enough. Like you have a role if you want to be in the NFL this year. Like let us know. And I think that he wants to chase tail right now and live his best life, and he's doing just that. So it's not that they didn't want to. He didn't want to, and you can't force anybody to do anything that they don't want. That's the bottom line.
It all stops at not this year. Like there's nothing else you could do from 49ers. I will say, the chat brought this up, Mike Vrabel's still out there. I would love to see what Mike Vrabel's doing. Love to bring him in. Matt, were you going to say something? I know you.
No, I'm in agreement. It all stops with the whole, not this year thing. And honestly, I mean, maybe not ever at this point, because if you watch Coach Belichick on all these shows, he looks like he's having a lot of fun in a way that he didn't when he was a coach. And as he hits his later years, he's probably looking at it as like, look, this is fun. I don't need the headache and the stress of doing it. It's obvious he doesn't have an insatiable competitive itch anymore. Otherwise, you don't take the year off. And we've seen it before, right? Famously, Bill Cowher, once he lost that spark and he didn't want to coach anymore, he never went back. And that's just the way that it was. So even Sean Payton took him a long time to do it. And I'm sure he's looking at it with some level of regret at this point. And it's, I just think that, you always test the waters. You always make the phone call to see. But if they're not willing to do it, they're not willing to do it. So,
and this Niner Rich comment here is like hitting home for me, right? Like, you can't tell guys, hey, we want you here, but do the same shit we've been doing. That's an oxymoron, right? If you're going to bring someone as a defensive coordinator or an assistant head coach and they want to try to implement things, you can't tell them no. Then why the fuck are they here? Kyle had this notion about this Seattle defense. This was the hardest defense I ever had to play, and I want that. This is the hardest to prepare for, blah, blah, blah. Dude, it's been in the league long enough now. People are adjusting to it. You gotta do something different with your defense. So that's why I got excited when I heard they were bringing Staley in, because he runs some 5 defensive lineman fronts. He'll go back and forth from 5 linemen, 4 linemen, 3 linemen at times. Like, Staley was not afraid to mix it up as a defensive coordinator. So I was like, oh, this is great. This is showing that Kyle's going to try some different things this year. We got to see it, though. We got to see it. Like, you got to do something, and whatever we're doing right now isn't working. Now, we're only 3 games in, guys. There's 14 games left on the docket. We can't just hit the panic button completely, but, man, we're getting close. We should have beat the Rams. Like, I don't say that a lot. Like, this was a game that we should have won. This was a game that we absolutely should have won. The Vikings, hey, like, Kyle against, Flores, we know the history. It was documented before the game. It was well documented after.
Shit, Kyle's entire tree against Brian Flores, because, again, D'Amico Ryans with Houston the very next week. But, yeah, go ahead and continue. Sorry about that.
No. That's it, right? It's like he just has a plan for this offense, and he does what he does. Like, and so sometimes you're gonna have to say, hey, we got to take a step back and make some changes. Like you got if you're gonna take the players and say, oh, we can plug and play anybody, like, you got to trust that they can play in a different type of system. And so you got to make some changes. Now, are those the kind of changes you want to make mid-season? Maybe not. So I understand the apprehension now, but we're seeing the lack of effort from the off season play out now on the big stage. But again, 14 games left, a lot of football left. Kyle isn't typically the hot starter that we want him to be. So we'll see what happens. There's a lot of season left.
So as far
I would expect. Oh, sorry. I would expect. While it's all well and good, we got time to get it right. Don't be surprised if the 49ers defensive struggles continue if we don't see a little bit more of like what Mike was referring to with Brandon Staley, a little bit more of the fingerprint of Brandon Staley on the play calling and the way the scheme is going. Because when it comes to actually winning games, and I know the 49ers like to do their scheme or whatever, but at the end of the day, they're going to change it up, just like they did pulling Wilkes from the booth. They got to a point where something as seemingly trivial as that became important to them. So don't be surprised if they continue to struggle, if Brandon Staley gets a little bit more involved with the minute-to-minute operation of the defense during game days.
That was going to be my question. Do you guys think there's any scenario in which Nick Sorensen doesn't make it through the year and Staley gets the play calling duties?
So publicly, I don't think that they would ever announce that during the season. That would be something that would be behind the scenes. They wouldn't out and out say Nick Sorensen has been relieved of play calling duties or whatever, but it's something where maybe Staley is acting as the filter, or Staley makes a very strong suggestion, like a parent telling their child to go to bed. You know what I mean? It's going to be that sort of thing where it's like, hey, you got 2 choices. Give up a big play or use this play call that I'm giving you and let's get the fuck off the field, type of deal, where it's like you're giving him an option and he gets to make a choice, right? He gets to call the play. But I don't think it's something where they would outwardly throw Sorensen under the bus, but I think that they would quietly shuffle behind the scenes and kind of transfer some of those play calling duties over.
Perfectly said, Matt.
Yeah. And I think that's what we all said is like, Staley was brought in, yes, great defensive mind, but also as insurance for Sorensen. He's a first-time play caller in the NFL, has some coaching experience at lower levels in the NFL, like positional coaches. But they have a guy who's called defenses and top-ranked defenses previously in Brandon Staley. So I do think that that's why they brought him in, just 100% in case something happens. And hey, in the meantime, he's here to help. So we'll see. I agree with you, though. I don't think that they're the type of franchise that would make the move because that signals panic. Don't believe in him. Seasons on the line. You know, like I do think that would be something that is happening quietly.
Do you guys recall how word got out that Kyle was overriding Wilkes in the booth? Like, did you or play calling?
I don't.
And all that? How did that
word
get out?
Silver, like in an article, I'm pretty sure. Like after the fact, it came out that he, you know, like you talk about in the Super Bowl specifically, or
well, just throughout the season. I know that in the Super Bowl they came out and said that Kyle even had to call a timeout to change the play because he didn't like something that Wilkes called and all that stuff, right? Like, I mean, but how did that word get out? Because I don't know if we're going to hear that kind of stuff this year.
Yeah, so I don't, even in the offseason, I don't remember hearing as much leaks from the 49ers of last year. I don't know. Like, part of me thinks that, like, maybe Wilkes was a little bit irritated with getting shit on the entire season, and maybe Wilkes himself was leaking some of that stuff to try to save a little face with the media. Now, that's completely speculation on my part, of course, but if I was getting dogged by the fan base and felt like I was getting, you know, like, who gives a fuck if I'm up in the booth or down on the field or this and this and that, and it was just a week in, week out Steve Wilkes kind of thing, then maybe, you know, I'd be like, hey, Mike Silver, why don't you get this, like, off the record, on background or whatever, you report this stuff, like, you ain't hear it from me, right? But I'm not gonna go out like a fucking punk. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, like, that's just complete speculation on my part. Maybe the leak itself was Steve Wilkes, because it seems like it's a lot more quiet in 49ers land this year.
Yeah. Agreed. I tried Googling it, Mike. The only thing that comes up is the zero blitz in Minnesota and the Super Bowl. So I can't find any articles about anything other than that. Okay. Nathaniel says, if we let Tutu Atwell cook us, oh boy, I'm nervous about Demario Douglas against us. You know, the receiver that I'm actually afraid of is Jalen Polk. I think he's a talented kid. I think he's shifty, but I have very little faith in Jacoby Brissett at this age, at this point of his career. He's not Matt Stafford. He's not going to put the ball in a bucket 50 yards down the field. That's just not his game. So
he doesn't even have the natural talent throwing the ball that Sam Darnold does.
No.
You know, Sam Darnold came here for a year and apparently got fixed because he went with another really good play caller in Kevin O'Connell, and he looks like a completely different player.
Yep.
So something happened there. But yeah, Jacoby Brissett ain't it. And you know damn well they're not going to try to bring Drake May off of the bench against this 49ers team. So unless Brissett gets hurt, I mean, it's going to be statue Brissett back there, and he doesn't have a super powerful arm. He's not super accurate. He's like a, you know, they say jack of all trades. He's like a eight of all spades. I don't know. He's like very, very mediocre, middle of the road, like borderline type starter. I just, like you said, I don't have any faith that he's going to be able to get this stuff done. Although I will say, I gotta be there's like a little hesitation to completely write them off just because of what we've seen over the last couple of weeks with the defense.
Nathaniel, Kendrick Bourne is still injured, coming back from that ACL injury, so he won't be there. Okay, go ahead, Mike.
I understand Nathaniel's question about the Demario Douglas. He's the fastest receiver on their team. He's got the fastest 40 time, but he's nowhere near as fast as Tutu Atwell. So, I mean, if that's what you're worried about, you're talking 4.3 versus 4.4, like mid 4.4. So, and it was low 4.3s, by the way, with Atwell. I think it was like a 4.32 or 4.31, something like that. So
he's cooked us before. I mean, in the game last year, he cooked us. He's a good receiver, Tutu Atwell. He's not some bum. He took a while to come on. I think he was a third round pick, but he's a solid 3 for them, and hey, he did good as a 1.
The disappointing thing is that they really had nobody else out there, and so you let the one guy that was dangerous cook you, and that becomes a problem.
That speaks the scheme, right?
It is the scheme, because the week before it was the same thing. Remember the Minnesota game, no Jordan Addison, so you're essentially looking at Justin Jefferson and not a lot else, and they absolutely let Justin Jefferson torch them for that 97-yard touchdown. He finished with 6 for like 150 or something like that. So it's not like it was just that one catch. And I know that in the second half he didn't really have any catches because of the injury or whatever. But again, the 49ers have a really bad habit of not taking away the opposing team's number one option.
Yes.
And that becomes a problem. Where every other team goes, oh, you guys like Brandon Ayuk, like the Rams, you guys like Brandon Ayuk, cool, we're gonna make Juwan Jennings beat us, and they almost did it that way. But every other NFL team is gonna focus on the guy that they want to take. When people go against the Lions, you don't think that they're trying to take away Amon-Ra St. Brown? Like, that's exactly who they're trying to take away. And the danger is when you have other people that can take over that's where that secondary talent comes in with the Deebo Samuel, a George Kittle, a Christian McCaffrey, all that stuff, but the Rams, who'd they have? They had Tutu Atwell and Robinson, and that was it.
Yeah. And that's where they would have learned from Belichick. That's what would have been the checks and balance system, right? Belichick was notorious for, hey, we're not going to win every game, but we're not going to let your best receiver or your best weapon beat us, whether it's your running back or your tight end or your wide receiver. Belichick was a master of taking away your top 2 options, and you're going to have to find other ways to beat us. And man, oh man, like, did he make a career of that? And he was doing shit like that with the Giants. He was doing that with the Patriots. I mean, the Browns, like, that was a Belichick's thing. And so if there was anything to learn, that's what it would have been. The Niners just don't give a shit.
That's what Brian Flores does with his defense. Here, let me rotate this coverage and just give you a fucking pass to the flat like 30 times a game. That's what you're gonna get. You're gonna get like no coverage to that one side, and you're gonna have to nickel and dime us all the way down the field and hope my dudes don't get home. But your guys ain't getting by us, and we're not gonna be giving up big plays all day. And you're going to have to work hard for it. And the 49ers just are not doing that. Things for other teams seem to come way too easy, way too often for their number one guys. And even when it's not like a top tier number one guy, they somehow seem to elevate that guy to number one status for some reason. I don't know what it is. So got to be careful.
And that's kind of, I know we're talking about the defense, but to flip it to the other side, right? It's kind of the good thing about watching Juwan Jennings go off the way that he did. It wasn't like he was just catching the ball and falling right away. He was getting yak. He was breaking coverages. He was coming down with contested catches, right? So now it's like, oh, shit, Jennings is way better than what anybody in the entire NFL thought. I think he was the best receiver last week in the NFL. I don't know what the FedEx Air and Ground shit was.
He won. He won.
He did get it? Okay, yeah.
He had such a great day that he is now, I think, 4th in receiving in the NFL.
In the entire league, right? Yeah. So, think about that for a second.
And the
right?
Niners' leading receiver.
Yeah. And so you factor that in. It's like, man, like, who do we focus on now? Do we take away Ayuk or is it Jennings? Now you plug in a George Kittle.
Now, George Kittle is going to be a big key because you're not afraid of Eric Saubert at all. But I think that's what the Rams ended up doing on those last couple drives, which is why we see a pass to Ronnie Bell. Is that Bell, when you take away everybody else, again, let's take away your top options and whatever you're left with. If they, if Bell came down with that catch and the 49ers win, I bet you in the presser, McVay's going like, we just didn't want it to be Jennings. We didn't want it to be Ayuk. If your third guy ends up beating us, then hats off to you. Great job. Whatever else. But we weren't going to let their best guys beat us. And that's never the case with the 49ers. They're never like, we didn't want to let the best guy beat us. It's always like, well, you try to do your best, but they're so talented, XYZ, excuse. Yeah. And I'm tired of that, man. Like, if you think, Polk is, like, for me, I'm just like, if I'm the 49ers defense, I'm focusing on stifling the run because I think Ramondre Stevenson's their best offensive talent. And it's like, if Jacoby Brissett ends up beating us through the air, hats off to him. But I don't think it's going to happen because they don't have the horses. You know what I mean? And that's Bingo. The way that they have to approach it. And so that's what I'm looking for this week, hopefully.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Gosh, I was just about to say something. Oh, by the way, Juwan Jennings, all of last year, 19 catches. This year, 18 catches already through 3 games. So he's basically done everything he did last year, catch-wise, this year. Through 3 games.
And by the way, real quick, all these people, y'all can miss me with the Jennings deserves the contract that Ayuk got or whatever. Like, y'all are prisoners of the moment. Like, let's relax.
I hate
Juwan
that
Jennings
shit
had a
so much.
fantastic game, but like to just pretend like Ayuk isn't still wide receiver 1 on this team is kind of crazy.
Right.
Like, again, let him round into shape. If we still have these problems week 8, week 9, then come back and tell me I'm wrong or whatever. But like, settle down. Just be happy that Juwan Jennings had a great game without like necessarily talking about somebody else, the contents of somebody else's wallet. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Did you guys know that the Niners only have 1 kickoff return all year?
What do you mean?
And it was Debo's shitty ass.
Oh, right.
And he got out to like the 13.
Yeah.
It was.
They're not
it
kicking
was
it in the field against us. That's why they're kicking them all in the end zone. So I'm not surprised.
The Niners have had 1 kick return all year, and it was for a total of 21 yards.
The stat league wide is like 70% are still ending in touchbacks right now. So
and that's teams trying to adjust to this new shit that the NFL introduced.
I would.
You guys think it's going to revert?
I think it'll oscillate throughout the season because there are going to be certain guys that are going to be like so. For example, Harrison Butker's really good about kicking it to one side of the field and making it bounce in the landing zone, but really close to the end zone. So if it lands in the landing zone and goes in the end zone and you take a touchback, I think it only goes out to the 20.
Mm-hmm.
So that's enticing teams to like take it out or you start at the 20. But when they're air into the end zone, they're just going to take a touchback because you get the 30. So
exactly. Yeah.
This comment from Nathaniel. Did we see what Purdy said to Bell? I have the quote here that we can get into our offensive and defensive predictions. Ronnie Bell said Brock Purdy talked to him after the game. I'm going to be honest. That was probably the best thing for me in the last couple of days was Purdy coming and talking to me and really helping me lift my spirits, man. It helps a lot to have these guys having your back like that. And he helped me a ton to get back up so I can move on, move past it, and be ready to continue to help the team win. I wish the best for you, Ronnie, but I really I hope you don't have too many chances to help the team win, with all due respect, brother. This is an ongoing thing, and I posted about this. He likely doesn't make the roster if A, Ayuk doesn't hold out, and B, Pearsall doesn't
get shot.
He's
right?
not on the roster. Those
it took a bullet for you to get on this team.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. It's crazy.
He's here.
Yeah. More or less crazy than Kyle coming out in the press conference today. And when he was asked about Jacob Cowing and why he wasn't in there, where he was like, he's not ready for it. I'm like, he's less ready than Ronnie Bell? Like, damn, bro. Like,
and Lynch had said on the KBR show, you know, Guerendo and Cowing should get more looks this week with the injuries. And then
to be fair, Guerendo did a little bit.
He did. They asked Kyle about that, and he just said it wasn't in the plan. It's like,
because one guy sees it as, look at my entire roster. The entire roster is one guy's baby. The other guy is ego. You fumble the ball. You won't get any snaps or reps on the offense now.
Yep.
Like, it's bullshit.
Now, what about if he dropped the ball to win us the game? You know,
or go get us the fucking donuts, rookie. Like, that's what he's, you know,
right?
Like, yeah,
it's unfortunate. But let's get into our offensive and defensive predictions. I don't think there's too much more to say about the New England Patriots at this point in the season. Could they turn it around and win the AFC East? No, I'm just kidding. They can't. But now with Josh Allen playing like the MVP at the MVP level that he's been playing at. But all right, offensive MVP predictions. Mike, let's start with you. What do you got?
Yeah. So in this game, I think it's going to be about balance, guys. I'm going to revert back to the run game. I think the Niners, and this is going to be tough to accomplish. The Patriots are going to focus on taking away the run. Let me be very clear at what I'm saying. I don't think it's going to be, 160 yards or anything like that for Mason, but the run game in total. So I'm going to give this to the running backs in general. Or the run game in general. I'm not going to say it's just going to be Mason. I think that we see some handoffs to wide receivers. I think we see Guerendo get in the mix a little bit more. Week after week, he's getting one touch 4 touches. Like we're seeing him get ramped up and getting ready to, help out in the run game. And Mason is going to be the guy that he's been consistent as shit. I don't know if people are paying attention to it at all, but Jordan Mason has not been a disappointment at all in his role of the run game. More targets for the running backs and Mason also in the check down game. So I'm going to give it to them. I think that collective is going to do what the Niners want them to do. We want to get back to getting out to leads early and then just running the ball down teams' throats, run time off the clock. The Niners want to end this game as early as possible. This will not be one of those 3.5-hour windows. This is going to be 2 hours and 40 minutes tops. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be one of those things where there's not a lot of passing attempts and incomplete passes stopping the play clock. We're going to get out to a 10-point lead and then just run the ball down their throats. We'll be passing on third downs. It's going to look like a Dolphins type offense or something. Like, it's going to be something like that where it's run on first, run on second, and then throw on third downs once we get to the second half. So I'm going to give it to the running backs or the run game.
I like it. Matt, what do you got?
Listen, I said give the man time. It's his preseason. This is week number 3, preseason week number 3. Traditionally in the NFL has been the one where the stars kind of come out and show a little bit of what they got. I'm going to go with Brandon Ayuk. I think he gets back on track. I think that he nips the drops in the bud, and he's going to have 6 catches, right around 100 yards. He's going to get his touchdown. I think his first one it would be for the season. So, Brandon Ayuk, I think he gets back on track, and we can leave all this nonsense behind us. It's about time for him to start having good games here.
It's tracking. I'm going to go Brock Purdy. I think he's going to have his 3rd straight great game. I'm going to go Brock Purdy, 19 of 24, 290, and another 3 touchdowns.
290 on 19 completions? Check you out. Okay,
right,
talk
baby.
your shit, baby.
They're going to eat. If that's the case, if that's the case, the game's going to be a blowout.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. He had
and 3 touchdowns
similar to that Sunday, and it wasn't a blowout. It should have been a blowout, but it wasn't. Defensive predictions, Mike. Who do you got?
I'm actually going to go with Diamador Lenore. I think that he's going to continue what's being overlooked by everybody right now. I think Lenore's only allowed something like 40-something yards total or something like that through these 3 games. That's total, right? I think Lenore's going to be the guy. I think he's going to go out there and just lock shit down. And I think he's going to also have a pick or 2 in this game. So I'm going to go with Diamador Lenore, maybe allowing only 2 or 3 receptions, but all of them will be minimal. I'm going to say if he allows 3 receptions, I'm going to say 17 yards total, but with 2 interceptions. So I'll take that. If you're going to have that many picks with that many passes allowed, Lenore's the guy.
Sweet. Matt, I know your answer, but hit us.
I mean, listen. I said last week that I was disappointed with Nick Bosa, and so I was fully expecting to come in here tonight and I'm go in a different direction. And then I saw that Nick Bosa said that he hasn't been able to sleep and he's itching to get back out there. So I'm not fucking leaving. I'm not fucking leaving. Nick Bosa, 3 sacks and a forced fumble, baby. Let's go.
That's right.
Let's
go.
Let's go. Let's get it, baby.
We're at home, 1:00. Fred, the Freditor. I got to go Fred Warner. 9 tackles, another forced fumble, and a sack. I think Fred's just all over the field today. Matt, pretty good chance of Bosa. I reckon this Patriots struggled like hell to handle the Jets defensive line. So I would like to see the 49ers defensive line get home, but I'm going with Fred.
I'd like to see
Patriots.
I'd like to see Leonard Floyd actually have himself some type of game because he's been very quiet this season so far. So we need him to lock in.
Did Fred Warner have a punch out last game?
He did not.
No.
Oh, he's pissed.
He's due.
He might have 2. He might have 2. He's got to make up for some lost time. I think he's going to finish the season with an average of 1 forced fumble a game. I'm not kidding you guys because he's going for it. You know,
He goes for it every tackle.
when he's not pressing, he's going for it every opportunity he fucking gets, man. If he's got a clear line to that guy, and the way he gets that arm down there, like he's not coming like this and over the top, like he's walking up and running like he's gonna tackle, but he like jabs that shit in there, like it's the weirdest angles, and I worry about his hand or the opposing the ball carrier's hand, like he's gonna break someone's finger at some point. Like it's the way he comes in there is so violent and like so forceful and intentional. Yeah. So you know, I think he's gonna finish averaging 1 per game this year, and that's a lot. 16 forced fumbles.
Yeah, maybe
17 now.
Maybe those boxing lessons are helping him out. Throwing a proper punch. We're gonna have to change the name from Peanut Punch to like Fred Fist or like Warner Whack or something like that, man.
Yeah. Check you out. Did you work on that, or did that just come to you right now?
I was just thinking about it because we were just talking about like him. He's the thing is like he is so accurate with how he punches at the ball. It's ridiculous. Even when he doesn't get it out, you can see like when he hits, you can see the ball shift a little bit. It's just that the guy hangs on to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's an art that he has perfected, and it's one of the reasons why he's the best defensive player in the game right now.
We should respond to this comment right here.
Yeah.
God forbid. I don't think any of us have the Niners losing this game, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
God forbid we lose this game. How do you guys feel? How do you react? What is it?
The alarm.
I'll start right now. Again, the Asperger's kid at my job was like, Mike, you think you guys are going to beat the Patriots? I said, if we don't, this season is done. I said, it's demoralizing. You're going to see more injuries to big name players who got the guarantees and all that stuff, and they're not going to be in a rush to come back and all that stuff. I said, it's going to be bad, and it's going to set the Niners back. I said, even with more games to go, I said, it's going to be demoralizing. And to be very clear here, this win, in my opinion, means absolutely nothing. We're going to be 0 wins in the NFC, 0 wins in the division, and 2 wins in the AFC. This shit does nothing for the 49ers within the division right now. Absolutely nothing. So this is quite literally the get-right game that the Niners need on offense and defense. And if it doesn't happen and we lose this game, the sky is falling. If you can't win this meaningless game, we're in trouble.
Now, the one area I will push back on you is I don't think the 49ers should be standing watching this early in the season. A lot of things can happen. We've seen it before, right? I think didn't the Broncos beat the Chiefs last season? At one
Raiders
point,
did too, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Raiders did win it. Like it didn't even matter anymore, I think. But the Broncos beat them when the game still counted. So you never know what's going to happen in division. The division can take a whole different turn. But I think the fact of the matter is the 49ers need to go into each week focusing on winning that game, and the standings will work themselves out. You know what I mean? Whether you get the division, whether you get in as a wild card, it doesn't matter. All you need to do is get to the dance. Because once you get to the playoffs, everything resets. Everything's just one game at a time. So, in my opinion, they should have that mindset all season long, and I think that would serve them well. Rather than being like, "Oh, this is an easy game. Like this is an easy game. Like we should win this game. We should win that game." It should be, "This is a week." They should treat every week like it's the playoffs. Like we need to win this game. This game is all that matters right now. There's no other games after this. This is the one we need to win. If they do that, then I think they can relax a little bit on the whole standings watch thing, and especially week 3. Like, I think that's more detrimental than anything else.
I agree 100%. If they lose, I'm sounding the alarm. I'm not saying the season's over. I would be very, very concerned with this team moving forward. But it's so hard because they get so many good players back on the back end of the year. Like Matt said, if they just punch their ticket to the dance with Purdy still playing well, you get Greenlaw back, possibly CMC back, depending on how long he takes. The defense is going to look the team is going to look a lot better, and they would look completely different than they did in the month of September. And no team's going to want to face the 49ers, whether they're the first seed or the 7th seed. So I think that they just need to get there. But most importantly, one game at a time. Win the games you're supposed to win, and I'll keep that for my score prediction. I'll leave it there, which I think that's where we're at, right? Everybody gave their defensive prediction. Okay,
we are at score prediction.
Well, I'll go first since I picked the 49ers the last 2 weeks to win. I'm still picking them to win. Don't get me wrong, but they are favored by 10.5. I got the Niners 20. Trying to do the math in my head since I predicted Purdy would have 3 touchdowns. Niners 24, Patriots 14. I don't think they cover. I think they just miss out on it. Maybe a last-second field goal or last-second touchdown, I guess it would be, to 14-24. Mike, what do you got?
I have a theory. I haven't shared it yet. I'm not going to share the theory here. I will explain later at another time, but I think the Niners win this game by 3 scores, not 2. I think they cover the spread. I'm going to say Niners 28, Patriots 3.
Oh.
And by the way, I want you guys to remember that score. Kyle Shanahan, it's going to mean something to you. 28-3, baby. Get it back in blood, baby.
Gotcha.
Come on.
Matt.
Yeah, I'm with Mike on that. It'll be a 3-score game. I'm actually, Ian Sharp has my score exactly, 31-13 49ers.
There you go. We got a question from Nathaniel before we get to our chat pack question of the night. Do you think 49ers take a DT again in the first if Hargrave doesn't get re-signed? Well, he's still under contract, but I think they have an out after this year. So they could get out of it. Do you think if they let him walk, a DT is the top pick? I don't
know.
Well, I mean, so
it better not be because they need a tackle.
Right.
Like an offensive tackle.
I think that
this year was the year to do that, and they didn't.
There's some free agents out there that they can bring in right now. And I would rather focus on that. It's hard to predict what's going to happen in the offseason and all that. But right now, if there's someone that the Niners are going to go after, I want to remind you guys that Hassan Ridgeway was here in 2022. He knows the system, and he is currently a free agent. He got injured last year with Houston. He didn't finish the season, but he is currently a free agent. And if I'm not mistaken, he is healthy. They might look to bring someone like him back in. He's 30 years old, if I'm not mistaken, or he will be 30 soon. I could see the Niners going out there and making a move for a player like that.
Right. Steve-O, guy running the show, says, save my predictions till predictions, but it's prediction time. Am I watching Karen Con? Is it still preseason?
I don't know what this is.
We're a little lost here. But all right.
I think he's trying, Mike. I think he's trying to say like you're not giving out your theory.
Like I mean, so I break down the pressers on my Patreon, and it has to do with how Kyle Shanahan addresses the media. And so I'll give you guys a little tidbit. It's fine. And I'll just go into details.
If you want, you could. You don't have to give it to the people. You could just give it to us off air.
If
you want to save it for content, like
I'll give you guys just a small snippet.
All right.
Right. I have paid very close attention to how Kyle's demeanor is going into a game and how he addresses the media. And when Kyle Shanahan laughs more than 3 times, it's usually a blowout that week.
Yeah.
He was very happy.
Dude, did you see him like shit on that report? He's like, that question makes 0 sense.
It was
like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was Mayoko. And then Mayoko like followed it up.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, you've never told me my questions don't make sense. Like, what are you?
Yeah. He worded it way too long, and it was like up and down, and
it was a Eric Branch type question, right? Like, what are you saying, dude? Just get to the point.
But the question actually, like, I do actually agree with Kyle. It's like, wait, what do you mean? Like, it's a busted coverage. Brock didn't necessarily do anything right or wrong. He just didn't throw it to that guy. Like Ayuk did what he was supposed to do, but like Brock, you can't tell Brock this is what you're supposed to do on a busted play, on an ad lib. You can't tell him that. He has to see it and do it. So like Mayoko's question didn't really make sense from a schematic football. Like I guess we knew what he was trying to get. He's like, oh, did Purdy do something wrong there? Like that was the question. But then you layered it in something where it's like, well, it's not necessarily a question where you can get right or wrong. Like it is a wrong throw would have been like a turnover. That's the wrong thing, right? Brock protected the ball, got a 5-yard completion. That's the right thing, whether it was like that or whatever. I don't know. So
that Kyle said it was a a mental error by the DB. We don't practice mental errors. I'm not
Right.
going out there saying, what if he takes a step
Right.
here? What if he trips there? Then you'd be out there all day practicing each and every scenario.
Honestly,
it reminds me of
yeah.
the old Colts GM. If Peyton goes down, we're fucked, and we don't practice fucked. Like that's basically it.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So good. But yeah, no, most NFL teams are going out there and this is how they should practice, by the way. You should tell your offense, go out there and practice like the defense is going to play an absolutely perfect game, and then we still have to figure out a way to beat them. And then if they give us an extra opportunity, fantastic. We'll capitalize on those as they come. But you need to do your job the best you can possibly do, because we're assuming that the defense is going to play perfect.
All right, let's get this chat pack question of the night. Chat, feel free to answer. If you were an airline pilot and were told you had to choose any route that you would have to fly for your entire career, what 2 cities would your flights connect?
Oh, baby, this one's easy for me, buddy.
Wait, what's the question? If we could fly, what?
If you're an airline
pilot, you get to work one loop, one route your entire career. You get to fly one route your entire career. What route would you run?
Got it. Okay.
Matt, seems like you have an answer in mind already.
Yeah, I'll save mine for everybody.
Okay. I'd probably say like Seattle to New York.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Across the United States, back and forth.
Yeah.
Beautiful cities. See it every time of the year. New York in the winter. Washington in the fall. Vice versa. If I'm understanding this question correctly, that's my answer.
Okay.
Mike?
I would do Vegas to Amsterdam.
Oh shit. All right.
Shit. I was just thinking United States. I didn't even think about. Yeah, I guess yeah.
Well, because there's direct flights. There's direct flights to Amsterdam, so that's why I was. Is that not the?
No. Yeah. You can. Yeah. It just didn't even cross my mind for some reason. I was thinking continental United States, but yeah, you can go anywhere.
Yeah, I think when you land, you get what's the word I want to use? Let's just say you get serviced, whatever your preferences are in both cities, and so I think it'll be very freeing. When you have to land, and if you had a day or whatever in between, you get to enjoy the sights and things like that, and scenery, and you take advantage of the local area. So that would be me.
All right, Matt, what do you got?
All right. Yeah, I would do, because I'm coming at this from where do I actually get to spend time, right? Like when I'm not flying, where am I going to be? So my 2 answers, listen, I love where I live now. But so like the closest nearest airport to me is San Diego. So I'll take San Diego, and then it'll be Kailua in Maui.
There you go.
I'm doing San Diego to Maui. My days off, I'm going to be on a beach either way, and I'm good. I'm good.
I'm terrified flying over water, so I think that's why my mind didn't even think about flying over a different continent.
It's incredible how the mind works. My mind is the exact opposite. I think I have a better chance of surviving a plane crash over water than land. I feel like if we land on land, we're blowing up.
Hear me out. If you survive the crash, what are you doing 3,000 miles out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean?
I'm floating and hoping that the signals have gone up and someone's coming to find us. Like I'm not trying to be funny, but at least
I will take. That's where my mind goes.
That's so cool how the brain works. It's like you're terrified over land, and I mean over water. And with me, I'm the exact opposite. I hate flying and there's no water underneath me. It bugs me. It's like, oh my God, like if something goes wrong, I'm a goner. There's no hope. There's no hope.
Yeah. Listen, I'm terrified to fly either way, but we do it anyway.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Is anybody truly comfortable flying? Like I do get to relax. My wife. Like she sincerely enjoys flying.
Yeah. I think it, but so let me ask you guys a question, because I have a theory on this. I think that the earlier age you are introduced to commercial flights, the more comfortable you are. I didn't take my first commercial flight until I was an adult. So at that point, I was like, fuck this. How about you, Zach?
Yeah.
When was your first commercial flight?
I was young, but I didn't fly again for a few years until I was like a teenager. So I don't really
Yeah.
remember the first one.
I think I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
I think I was in my 20s. Yeah. And
So-
so maybe that's why. That's true.
yeah.
Because
No.
as an
My wife
adult, like
was-
I like helicopters and all
Yeah.
that shit. Like I love all that stuff now. So
No, my wife was, had a pretty affluent upbringing, so like they were taking multiple flights a year. So when you just it's it's the same, whatever you come up with, that's what you're comfortable with.
you know what? You could be onto something. I take all my kids on their first flight when they're 10 years old. And so far so good. All of them are
and
like,
watch your
oh,
kids all be
when's the
cooler
next
with
one?
it than you.
Yeah. They're like, when's the next one? When's the
Yeah.
next one? And so like they're all looking forward to more. So maybe you're onto something, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's going to do it for tonight's show.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in this Wednesday night. By the way, any chance the Giants can upset the Cowboys tomorrow night? What do you guys think?
I mean,
Yes.
the Cowboys have been dog shit.
I think there's a chance.
They lost
I
two
do.
at home already.
Yeah. Blowouts,
For
too.
as much as we harangue about the 49ers, the Dallas Cowboys have been infinitely worse.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been getting spanked at home. So-
Spanked.
You know, there's something about a team with nothing to lose. No one expects shit from the Giants, and
Right.
they've got some weapons on both sides of the ball. They've invested in the defensive line. They've got some wide receivers over there that should be respected a little bit more.
Neighbors is a fucking dog, dude.
He's a monster, dude. He is a monster. And I do think that there's a chance, man. My pop, he's a season ticket holder. He's like, yeah, we're going to the game tomorrow night, and then after the game they're going to Florida or something like that for a week or so. So he's looking forward to it. And there's just this feeling. Thursday night football is weird. Divisional football
yep.
is weird. So you couple all that together, the Cowboys are probably like, yeah, we got these guys. It's not going to be a big deal. They didn't do shit their first week, blah, 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 blah. And the Giants have been getting better week after week gradually. So
Let's
it's going
see.
to be interesting.
I might take a flyer on them separately to maybe just to cover, if not to win outright. But that'll do it for tonight's show, guys. Mike, I'm sure the folks already know, as they always do, but please let them know where to find you.
I've hinted at it a couple of times. We have some good shows coming up on Patreon. I'm hoping to get some time to record, so make sure you guys do it. Bang, it's right there, patreon.com/NB9ERS. And again, as always, to the people who are viewing this on the Nothing But Niners channel, please get on over and show my guys some support on the 49ers Hive channel. They work hard. They put in really, really good work. They prepare these shows and all. And if you guys enjoy it with me here, you'll enjoy it without me here as well. 49ers Hive, get on over there and subscribe, please.
Appreciate it.
And shout out to the IG community. We are live on the Nothing But Niners IG, by the way. So, yeah, I don't want to ignore them either.
That's right. Matt, without further ado, please.
Yeah, listen, we need to have a better result than we did last week, and I expect us to. This is a get-right game. It should be a fun watch, so everybody, get your snacks, get your wings, crack your beer, sit with your family, laugh, hug. It's going to be a good one, but let's just get there. So we'll see you next time we're here. For Mike, for Zach, for myself, thank you as always for joining us. We love having you here. And until next time, go Niners.